Tell you what, I think it's time. This game of ping pong goes on. It's my turn now to hit back. I think it's about time that General Powell provide a coherent and comprehensive statement of his political doctrine. He's never asked about that. He relies, and so does the left, on his reputation as a D.C. insider. I set forth my views day in and day out. Have done so for 20 years. I explain the origin of my ideas. I cite to history and philosophy. I set forth my principles. Yet it's not enough for General Powell to shoot spitballs from the studios of liberal media shows. If he wants to have an impact, he needs to do more than this hit-and-run media appearance thing he's doing, where he really says very little of substance and where he gets away with it. Tom Ridge is a politician. Tom Ridge, by the way, just passed up a chance to run for the Senate in Pennsylvania against a conservative in the GOP primary, and it'd be Pat Toomey. Anybody know why? And if Pat Toomey is so bad for our party, Pat Toomey's a conservative, the kind of guy that Tom Ridge doesn't like. Why didn't Tom Ridge run in the primary to stop him? Bob Schieffer on Slay the Nation Sunday did not ask General Powell a single serious question. And that's what happens when they like somebody who is trashing conservatives. He could have asked him, General Powell, how would you define your political philosophy? General Powell, what, if any, government programs would you cut? General Powell, do you support expanding entitlement programs to include national health care? And if you do, General Powell, how would you pay for it? What is the highest tax rate you would accept, General Powell? General Powell, should we give amnesty to illegal aliens? General Powell, how would you expand the Republican Party's base without diminishing its principles? What are your views on affirmative action, General Powell? What are your views on the death penalty? How about school choice? He never gets these questions. My opinion on these questions is cited by the media at all times to disqualify me. Bob Schieffer asked him none of this, nothing else of substance or interest. And General Powell has yet to lay out his philosophy in any coherent way so that we can judge just how appealing it would be, not only within the Republican Party, but beyond it. Quick timeout. A little long here. The next segment's going to be short. Stay with us. Interesting piece. It's a blog by Toby Harnden. Toby Harnden at the UK Telegraph. And the headline of his piece here, what right do Colin Powell and Tom Ridge have to lecture the Republican Party? Now, these are the questions of a British blogger who happens, he reports out of the United States. Writes this, why does Powell now seem to think he has the right or credibility to lecture Republicans on how their party ought to be run? He voted for Obama, and he did so very publicly. He saved his endorsement of Obama at a very propitious strategic moment and did so in public. After the Republican Party had nominated a candidate supposedly ideal to somebody like General Powell. That would be John McCain. So why does Powell now seem to think he has the right or the credibility to lecture Republicans on how their party ought to be run? Just as he did not go quietly into the polling booth and vote for Obama, Powell is not working discreetly behind the scenes at party gatherings to press his case, which is what I just said. Where are his policy prescriptions? Where does he stand? What is he doing to organize the Republican Party if he's now the leader of it in opposition to this radical extremism that is being presented to the country from the Democrat Party? Now, Mr. Harnden writes that it's easy to feel some sympathy for Powell. He was marginalized during the Bush administration. I really think, excuse me, there are three reasons to explain Colin Powell. One of them is race. I mean, in no way he wasn't going to support Obama, and coming out and doing so publicly. Race, it's also he's angry at Bush. And the Scooter Libby thing proves that. But I think the third element that explains Colin Powell, he went up and, he was the point man at the United Nations with the slideshow and the official presentation on Saddam's weapons of mass destruction. And even though we haven't found any, a lot of people believe they were there, Colin Powell no doubt feels profoundly humiliated and embarrassed with the people he cares about most, the Washington, D.C. political elites. And I think he's on a rehab tour to get his reputation back, to get his, and it's working. Rest of the D.C. establishment hates Bush, so it's an easy call. Come out and oppose Bush. Come out and oppose the Republican Party. We've all known that the way a Republican ingratiates him or herself in the D.C. political structure is to go on any television show in D.C. you can find and rip your own party. And maybe take it a step further, endorse the other guy. And the fact the other guy happens to share race with you makes it even easier. So there's a lot of rehab going on here, but Toby Harnden is right. What right does Powell and Tom Ridge have to lecture the Republican Party, especially when they don't put forth any particular position on issues? We'll be back. Sit tight. Sunday on CNN, Tom Ridge refused to name a Republican that he would support in any upcoming election. He says he votes a secret ballot. Votes a secret ballot, wouldn't name anybody he would support. John King actually asked a good question. Well, then, Mr. Ridge, why should any Republican listen to you if you won't commit to voting for a Republican nominee? Why should any Republican listen to you? So, a hard hit-back question from John King at CNN. All right, first hour's in the can. We'll be back before you know it and put more in the can. Sit tight.